All right. So, welcome again to the live and to the Heartbeat Live show. I like that. Don't you
Yeah,
like
it's
it? It's good, right?
shorter.
Heartbeat
Yeah.
Live. All right. So, if you are over 40 and fighting to control your blood sugar, I'm willing to bet you are actually focusing almost entirely on diet.
What if I told you that the single most powerful weapon you have against diabetes isn't on your plate?
Oh, come on, man. It's not just on your plate. We always think that diabetes control is on your plate. But what if it's not, right? So, today on the Heartbeat Live, we are revealing the number one strategy that most people overlook. And it is the game changer today for you.
Yes, so we are talking about the number one way to fight diabetes after 40.
All right, all right, all
After
right.
40.
Number one way to fight diabetes after age 40. So, to begin, let's talk about the struggle with blood sugar after age 40. Because if there isn't a struggle, why would we even make this topic or this title up? There is a lot of struggle with controlling your blood sugar after age 40. And we have a few reasons why we want to share with you. The
Yeah.
first one, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so I think sometimes as we age, when we were growing up, you can always look back and say that I used to do this and do that and do that. I may try to lose weight and the weight fall off very quickly. And I was eating almost everything, right? But after 40, we've realized that study shows that things also change in your body. So it becomes more difficult to do certain things that you used to do when you were around 20s and around 30s. So the first one that we want to talk about, the struggles that we go through after age 40, is muscle loss.
Muscle
Muscle
loss for
loss,
you.
muscle
Muscle
loss.
loss,
Yeah,
yes.
so it's the age related muscle loss uh, is very real because like I said, the things that you used to do, the weight that you are able to shed off doesn't come off easily, meaning that at age 40, after 40, you tend to lose more muscles. And as you lose the muscles, it means that less space for your sugar to be stored in your blood. And because you have less muscles, now you don't have the sugar tend to linger around longer
In your blood,
in
right?
your blood.
And that is
So that's a
why,
problem.
as a matter of fact, on when you talk or read about the risk factors for diabetes or type 2 diabetes, one of the first things that come up is it is a risk for people over age 40. Not that people under 40 don't get that type 2 diabetes, but as you age around 40, that is when most people who are prone to diabetes show up. And this is one of the reasons, loss of muscle mass, where because of that, you don't have enough room for your blood sugars to go, and then they all get stuck up in your blood, and then you get high blood sugar levels or type 2 diabetes for some time, right? So the other reason why blood sugars are high around 40 and up is the slowing of your metabolism. Your body naturally burns fewer calories at rest because obviously you have less muscles. So it's working hand in hand. And this makes you actually gain weight easier. So that is another thing that happens, keeps blood sugars up.
Yep. And another thing that you realize after age 40 is there is a hormonal shift, you know, uh, like the estrogen and the testosterone, is shifted. You tend to produce less. So that can increase your insulin resistance. And in that case, you are not able to control your blood sugar as well.
And definitely, and also even if you talk about cortisol hormones too, after that age, your stress levels have gone up and you're releasing more cortisol. Cortisol being a hormone can also affect the balance of these other hormones that she has mentioned. So age is not our friend, but what you got to say? You all
Yeah,
have to go
aging.
anyway, no matter what, right? And the other reason that makes blood sugars go up after age 40 is increased visceral fat, adiposity, fat storage around your belly, around your internal organs, especially around the belly area. That's where the trouble usually happens. And that tends to make you accumulate fat around all the other areas. And fat basically leads to insulin resistance. And also drives inflammation. Inflammation is the one that actually leads to the insulin resistance. So definitely, as you age, because of this change in your body, you tend to have higher blood sugar levels.
And also, as you age, your cells become less effective. It doesn't respond to insulin as much as it used to because you are aging. It does not get to work quicker. It's less effective. So that happens, and we don't have control over aging.
You have no
right?
control. No matter how many plastic surgeries you can do, you can look all your best, but you may still have to endure these things because of your aging. And the basic premise is because you are losing muscle mass,
Right.
which we are going to actually hit on as we go forward. Because we want to have a trick. We know you can age all right, but what if you can age and turn things backwards instead of losing muscle mass and having high blood glucose levels? What if you can do that? So let's talk about that. What do you, how are the ways we can actually fight back? This one. The number one way to fight diabetes after age 40 is actually to build muscles through exercise.
Yeah.
Build muscles through exercise. That's the number one thing that we are going to leave you with on this life.
Yeah. So, like we are saying that you lose muscles, right? As you age, what can you do to reverse that, to help with that? You just have to build that back. So some people will be like, oh, I want to lose weight. I want to lose weight. I want to lose weight. What about gaining something instead of losing something?
Oh, come on, man. I like that analogy.
Yeah.
Don't just lose, but gain something. So lose the fat and gain the muscles, right?
Yes.
Exactly.
So that's a way that we can use to fight back. We want to gain something that naturally, because we are aging, we are losing. So how can we gain that back? And that's through exercise.
Definitely. So build muscle mass through exercise, right? That's the first thing. So the lesson that we are going through, the first one is build muscle mass directly through exercise. And when you do that, what happens is what? Insulin resistance goes down, or your cells become sensitive, right?
Yeah.
If you are building muscles, your cells are going to be more responsive to the insulin that you are sending around. So definitely it's important that you build muscle mass, because as we go on with the discussion, we explain the importance of more of the muscles. But that's the first thing, is to build muscle mass. If you build more muscle mass, you become more insulin sensitive.
Yep. And the second one that we want to talk about is that if you exercise, the glucose in your system become a sponge that it absorbs all the glucose in your system. So you are building muscles, right? And it tends to become like a sponge, or it become like a sink that you sink out the glucose that you are taking in because you are exercising. And that exercising will increase your metabolism, right? So you tend to be able to take in the glucose that you've eaten or that's lingering around because you are exercising. So building muscles tend to become like, your muscle become like a sponge, and it absorbs all the lingering glucose in your bloodstream.
That's what's up. You got to build muscles so that it acts as the sponge. Now, without that sponge, you're not taking a good shower, right? So your glucose is going to continue to linger in your blood, and you don't want that to continue to happen. So that's the key, the reasons why we need to build muscles. The other thing is that more muscle means that there's more space to store the sugar from your blood in the form of glycogen. We know that our body stores muscles not just in the liver. We also store glucose not just in the liver, but you also store glucose in the muscles. But the size of your liver is fixed. However big your liver is, that's it, unless you have some kind of a inflammation, hepatitis or something. But even that is not a healthy liver. So the only thing you can change as far as storing glucose is concerned is to increase your muscle size, which you can. And if you do that, then there's a place to store the excess glucose that lingers in your blood. That makes you become diabetic. That makes you become hyperglycemic. that makes your doctor tells you that you are pre-diabetic or your family history, all those things because of too much sugar around in your blood. So build muscle mass because muscles are the places where you can store the excess glucose.
Yeah, and if there is no space to store the excess, it's going to form like fat, and that will be around your organs. So the excess glucose in your system is stored as a fat because there is no muscle to store the extra. But if you build more muscles, it has space to store those. But if it's lingering and there is no way, like you say, you can't increase the size of your liver, right? It's going to form like become fat and form around your organs.
And you can even destroy your liver through fatty liver disease if you have
liver
excess
disease.
fat. Right?
And that's a visceral fats that we are talking about. And that will lead you to have insensitive insulin. So building muscle is the key here.
Definitely.
For sure.
All right. So with that being said, and so how do you build muscles? How do you build and maintain? Because you can build it, but as we age, we lose it, right? We lose it as we age. So how do you build and maintain muscles? That's the key thing here because as I said, everybody's going to age. You will turn 30, you will turn 40, you will turn 50, 60. And when you do, naturally, you lose muscle mass unless you do some of the things that we're going to outline as we go forward. So how do we do that? That's the key. How do you build muscle mass in order to actually keep your sugars down?
So like the first one we want to talk about is resistance training. We are going to train. So one thing that I want us to talk about before we continue is like people think about exercise, in a very light way. But if we are going to build muscle and maintain it, it should be part of our lifestyle. We cannot just decide to do exercise today and forget about it tomorrow. In that case, we are not going to maintain even the little muscle that we have built. So it should be part of our lifestyle. And you're not doing it because you want to be a bodybuilder, right? You're not doing that because you want to be part of a community. No, you're doing that because you want to build muscles and you want to maintain it. So the first one is using resistance training. So you make strength and resistance training the cornerstone of your exercise. It's not like just running around or walking because we encourage that. But here, if we are targeting diabetes, right? So in order to build muscles, you have to do the resistance training. Okay? So some of the example of the resistance training is squats. You have to do the squats. You can also do the push-ups, the lunges, and the planks. These are the movements that will help you build muscles.
And you can use these movements in multiple ways. At each exercise, you can do either push-ups. For example, when I exercise, what I do is I do my treadmill. After the treadmill, I do some weights and then I do push-ups. So you get a benefit of all of them. You get your push-ups, which is the strength or resistance training, and you have done the aerobics, which is the treadmill, and you could do planks on top of it. That way you are including more of the resistance training as well as your beneficial cardio that most people know, run and walk. So you always have to include all, not all, at least multiple of the groups of exercises that you do in order to engage all the muscle groups, because you have different kinds of muscles and it's good to build them all up. You don't just want to build your, we guys, we want to always build the chest because that's what the ladies see, right? But I know you got to build the legs too, where it's difficult to build because nobody sees. It's always in the pants and nobody wants to, come on, man.
The skinny legs.
The skinny legs. But you got to build the calf muscles, the hamstring. Every group of exercise that you have, you got to engage them and build them. And again, like she said, not to show off or anything. Remember, the key is you're looking towards reducing blood glucose levels. And remember, as you age, you will lose it if you don't use it. Oh, come on, man. You will lose it if you don't build it. If you don't maintain it, it's going to go down. And that is where most of the problem happen. And the good thing is when you do these exercises and you increase the muscle buffness or muscle size, it's not just going to help with your diabetes or blood sugars. It's going to affect other areas such as your heart. Your heart health is going to be on point. You're going to have good blood pressures. Not that it will may completely stop you from taking blood pressure medications, but at least it's going to help you take less medicines if you are building your muscles. So it's a whole bunch of benefits that we know building muscles give us. But yeah, the first way to build it is the two resistance training, and the other way is to aim for 2 to 3 sessions per week of exercise that consistently focus on your muscles. So at least 2 times a week, 3 times a week, you are doing this, and because you are focusing on this all the time, extremely doing it, consistently, you are definitely going to build some muscle. Trust me, I got some here, even though I'm looking skinny, especially after the 14-day fast, right? But yes, a little bit here and there helps.
Yeah, and also like you're saying, we have to target the biggest muscle in our body, and we know that the biggest muscle is in the legs. It's in the legs, like you're saying. It's not just the chest area to see that you are really exercising. You have to target the biggest muscle, and that is like engaging all the muscles, like you're saying. So the lunges really help.
And the
It
squats
targets
too, right?
the
The
squats. Like you engage the leg area, and that will help you increase the muscle mass for sure. And also, you have to gradually, slowly get better. You don't want to start like 20-pound weight if you're doing the weights.
If you haven't lifted
If
10
you've not
before,
lifted 5
it looks
and
small
10.
to you, so you grab it, you're going to get yourself hurt.
Yes. So you have to gradually challenge your muscle, slowly increasing the weight and adding more reps and sets, or so that you can reduce injury. So if you haven't done any resistant training, you can start from, maybe the guys, you can start from 5, the ladies, you can start from 2, and you keep increasing slowly, over a long period of time. And when you do, you also give yourself rest time, so you don't want to say that, okay, I hear about exercise, I'm going to hit the gym and I'm going to stay there the whole day. That's not what we are recommending. You have to go slowly and add it to your schedule.
You have to go slowly and add it. And the thing is, you don't want to get everything you want, in one day. So it's gradual, consistent program or sets of exercises that will bring you the best results. If you do it too quick and you gain it, you probably will lose it too quick because you're going to get hurt, and then you will say that
You
I can't
stop.
do it. Yeah. So slowly but surely you do it. That's how you get it going. The next way to build your exercise, your muscles, because remember that's a dump place for your blood sugars, right? As a place to dump your blood sugars. The next way is to eat enough protein. Eat enough protein. Yes, it's very important because muscle is basically a bunch of proteins put together, arranged together in a group of place where it could be seen and called muscles, right? So it's basically protein. So if you have no sources of protein, you can exercise and exercise those muscle groups, but your growth, in terms of the muscle growing, will be hampered. It will be slow.
Right.
So to build muscles faster, you have to include more proteins in your daily diet. It's not just one diet, but most importantly, when you exercise, especially after your workout, it's good to have your protein. Whether you do a protein powder,
Shake,
in a what do you call it? In a smoothie. What I usually do is I'll have a scoop, of protein powder. The healthy ones, of course, in a that scoop with a couple of strawberries and avocado, bananas, and almond milk, and I throw it into
a
blender, and I'm good. You use one scoop. If you have to do exercise again in the evening, you can do another scoop, just so that the protein that you damage, the cells that you damage during the exercises can be replaced easily. And also, you use extra amino acids to build new muscle cells. So that's important that you consume protein. The only thing is you have to be careful. That's the caveat. If you're already diabetic and your doctor has told you that you have a compromised kidney, then you have to be careful using these external sources of protein. I mean, you could make sure you eat proteins in your diet, regular
Right.
proteins, but to do extra, such as in a smoothie, you got to be careful because if your kidneys are compromised, you are going to begin to pee proteins, what we call protein urea, and you don't want that to happen. So unless you have issues with with your kidneys, adding some sources, external sources of protein in your diet, I'm talking about additional protein, such as like we are saying, would be fine. But if not, then your regular meals with the enough proteins that you have on board would be okay. So your red meat without the fatty streaks, your beans, I can't say this, your tofu, all those rich sources of protein will be something that you have to include daily in your diet if you're going to exercise and try to build your muscle groups. That is very important. So that is one major way of also increasing your muscle size. I don't know if you have anything to add
And
to
also like by doing you tend to recover quicker. So like we are suggesting when
right?
you after you've exercised and you take in the protein shake, and you're doing all the because sometimes our diet is such that you tend to consume one group more than the other. So we are also suggesting that, like you said, in your diet you have to be intentional. Morning you have to have protein, afternoon protein, dinner protein. We don't want to consume all the carbohydrates without any protein, or just the portion size is very important. We have to be intentional so that we can increase the source of protein so that we can build the muscle for sure. Okay, so the last one that we want to talk about is you have to rest in between the exercises. So you can do weights today, maybe you do lunges the next day, you do planks. You can rotate around it. You don't want to stay at one kind of resistance exercise and get hurt. So you have to give your body time to rest and to recover before you go again. You don't want to overdo it and injure yourself. So time to rest in between the training is recommended.
And the other thing is, you could do all those groups of exercises in each exercise, but then instead of doing it every day, you do
Right.
every other day.
Right.
So you could do your weights, your planks, your push-ups, your squats in every individual exercise. But then if you do it today, tomorrow you rest, you don't do it. That way your muscles recover, your body recovers. And that's actually the best way of doing exercises rather than to do bum, 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 bum. Sometimes it's not even sustainable, but if you are able to, do it today. So like, studies suggest that for a week, we need to do 150 minutes of exercise, right? So you divide it in a week. So, okay, I'm going to do 30 minutes every other day.
Right.
You get 5 days and you are done with 150 minutes, So every other
day. Or you can rotate that with aerobics.
You can do,
So you can do the resistance training and the weight lifting and all that one day. Then the next day you give that muscles like your joints a break, and you can do the aerobic. You can do the walk, the running, the treadmill, and you do it the other day. Or like you do it, right? You do bits
all of them
in one day, then you give yourself a break a day, then you go back to it. So however you can build in, but you don't want to overwork your muscle to the extent that you hurt yourself.
We don't want you to hurt yourself and say that, as for me, when I exercise, I'm hurting, so I'm not going to do it anymore. As a matter of fact, if you haven't been exercising over a long time and you start, you're going to get hurt.
But not hurt per se.
You're going to get aches and pains.
Yes.
But you have to remember that before you win in this life, there's always going to be some kind of a sacrifice, and that is not going to stay forever. It's just your body telling you that thing is not easy. But you tell yourself, you're going to come over it at some point. So we don't have to give up because of the aches and pains. But we don't want you to get hurt. So you do it every other day, or, like she also explained, treadmill this day, or aerobics this day, and then lunges, weights the other day. However, it will fit your schedule. That is what we do.
Yes, so the most important thing is to listen to your body, right? You start slow, you focus on proper form, to prevent injury. And don't be afraid to ask for help or guidance.
Definitely.
So sometimes when you go to the gym, we have the trainers, we have other people that know more. You don't want to, if you don't know how to use the proper form of something, you just have to listen. Sometimes you have the trainers online, they tell you to do like the 90-degree angle and all that. You just listen, follow direction, and do it the right way. And in that doing, like, you get good or better results in preventing yourself from getting injured or hurt. Because like you're saying, the aches can be a little annoying because
Yeah.
if you have no exercise and you just go the first day, definitely the next day you feel aches all over.
There's a saying that says, no pain, no
No
gain.
gain,
So
yes.
just a little bit of pain in the beginning will always, again, if you continue, it will stop because your body will get used to it and say,
Right.
oh, this thing has come to stay. Okay, I better just keep quiet. But apart from that, anytime you begin a new thing, even even if it's not exercise, you're a couple, you want to do something new, it's going to be uncomfortable.
Right.
You are whatever. I mean, I'm just saying that it's not just in exercise,
Right.
but more so in exercises because you're actually engaging muscle groups that you haven't engaged over a long time. You have not run for a long time.
Long
You
time
haven't
you
done
run.
push-ups for a long time. I'm not going to share how many push-ups I can do because I don't think it's great. But I've struggled to increase past the point where I am all the
Slowly,
time.
right?
But at least I do it when I do it. I'll always make sure that I don't fall back,
Right.
because it's not easy. But at least I'm doing it. So that's the key. You do it. No matter how much hurting it may hurt your body, remember that the benefits far outweigh, the risk and the pain that you probably may be worried about. So what's the key takeaway of what we are sharing right here? That's what's the key takeaway. The key takeaway is diet is basically vital. We are not telling you to stop your diet. Somebody may say, oh, so now I don't need to diet anymore because you guys say that if I build more muscle, I can control my blood sugar. No, that's not what we're saying. We're saying, yes, if you build more muscles, you're going to have a hang over your blood sugars. Definitely. And especially knowing that if you don't build it, you're going to lose it. So build it so that it acts as a sponge and as a storage factory in your body so that your blood sugars have a place to go. Definitely, that's what we are saying. But diet is also vital. Diet is also vital.
Especially after 40,
Especially
right?
also after 40, because that's where you easily convert food into fat. You don't want to be storing fat and gaining weight. So this is a comprehensive approach. You do your diet, you still stay away from the starches and the sugars, and then do build on your muscles, increasing your protein intake. The exercise and strength training, that will also make sure that you are doing your best. So after 40, yeah, your muscles, basically will definitely need some help.
Yeah. So remember, combining the muscle and the diet is an unbeatable defense and is the most powerful strategy that you can adapt. So we are encouraging you, just don't focus so much on the diet. The diet is good, but you need to add on the exercise, and that will really help you to be able to control your levels.
And definitely. And if this video was helpful, please like, subscribe, and share. It makes a huge difference. And let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And we want to say thank you for joining us on this episode of the Heartbeat Live. And until we see you again, we say that, beloved,
we wish above all things that you prosper and be in health, even as your soul prospers.
And before you check out, make sure that you check on this other video that's going to be placed there after the live. And those of you on TikTok, we also want to say thank you for joining us. Make sure you also check our YouTube channel and subscribe. Our YouTube channel is definitely a place for a lot of videos that we always share. Some not even live, but we hope that you are going to join us so we will enjoy ourselves together. All right.